Hello and welcome to In the Spotlight. My guest this week is somebody I've known for more than a quarter of a century. He's not perhaps the face of cricket, but he is the voice of Indian cricket. He's got a degree in chemical engineering. He is a graduate of the Indian Institute of Management from Ahmedabad. And, well, for whatever reason he chose to make cricket his vocation, he's done a damn good job. Welcome to In the Spotlight, Harsha. Pleasure being here.
Is it 25 years? Has it been that long for both of us?
Of course, it has been 25 years.
Come to think of it, yeah.
It's been a long journey.
85 I came to Mumbai, yeah.
85 you came to Mumbai.
That's 26 years.
Yeah. First up, this was your passion, cricket,
Yes.
but giving up whatever you had achieved academically must have been a tough call, and especially from family and peer group pressure and whatever else.
The good thing was, Ayaz, that in those days management graduates didn't make the kind of money today's iBankers and venture capitalists make. So 5 years into my job, I was earning 5,300 rupees a month. So it wasn't that difficult to give it up. And our common friend Tariq Ansari helped out a lot when he said, why don't you come and help out with Midday?
Yes.
And then I did that tour of England. One thing led to another. I was already doing commentary for All India Radio. But I think it really was the coming of television channels. I think the television boom in India happened about 93.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, Z started it, and then when the sports channels came in, then opportunities arose, like the program we're doing.
Yeah, but when you came to Mumbai, were you wide-eyed about, making it big in the corporate sector, or were you just feeling your way through?
I was just wide-eyed about Mumbai.
Okay.
Anybody who grows up in a town other than Mumbai is wide-eyed about Mumbai. So I grew up in Hyderabad, and to me, Mumbai was all about lights and glitter and brightness, and the place you went to become somebody.
Yeah.
And we always looked up, I'll tell you simple things, which you probably, because you grew up in Mumbai, we used to feel fascinated by the fact that a 6:32 train came at 6:32.
Yes.
Whereas in Hyderabad, the 11:32 bus came when it wanted to, and we all waited. We had one umbrella for the whole family.
Yeah.
So you waited, and life moved at a very different pace.
So, but it also means a cultural shift from the way you have been brought up. And to make it big in Mumbai is not easy, because it demands a lot of hard work, it demands regimentation, it demands a lot of knowledge, and being, your faculty is always being functioning.
And sometimes being at the right place at the right time.
At the right place at the right time.
Because while liberalization was happening, while the channels were coming in, while not too many cricketers had entered the profession, it was a good time to be sort of in the electronic media at that time.
But the shift from radio, which was really your passion,
And still is.
to television, now that was a calculated risk, or was that something which is natural progression?
No, as you've worked with a lot of freelancers, and you know how the mind of a freelancer thinks. You just take what opportunity comes your way.
Yeah.
And I remember when they asked if I would do a little bit of television, they actually interviewed me, and I didn't know what it required to move from radio to television.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have gurus in those days. I mean, on radio I had Anand Setalwat to look up to, and you tried to be like Anand Setalwat. Or in print, there was a Prabhu, and there were people like you who'd been around a few years before. So there's someone to look up to. But in electronic media, there's no one to look up to. So you made your mistakes, you went along, and luckily we had good producers who taught us television.
Yeah. And
so that was...
any nerves when you sat with some of the big stars, with Gavaskar or a Chappell, or, you're suddenly in the big league, and you could get tongue-tied,
93, when I got into proper television. I was doing Doordarshan before that, wasn't proper television. But I remember sitting with Jeffrey Boycott. Yeah. And everyone told me he's the most difficult man to work with. Maybe he saw another side, maybe he saw in me a kid that he was once. As soon as we finished our first session, he took me back at the Eden Gardens, Hero Cup. Yeah. And he said, when I was playing, every time we got out of the John Player League or 40-over league, I'd go to wherever Richie Beno and Jim Laker were broadcasting, and I'd ask for permission just to sit at the back of the box.
Oh.
And just listen and see what they were doing. Yeah. He said, do that. And then word spread that Boycott wasn't happy with me. And then somebody said, no, if Boycott's not happy with you, he'll tell you. Yeah. But I benefited a lot with Jeffrey.
I must ask you this question, that was there a conscious attempt to reinvent when the Mandira Bedi phenomenon came?
Yes.
Suddenly you had this lady sitting in the studio,
yes,
which nobody anticipated, and then took the country or the cricket world, at least in this part of the world, by storm.
And she did, and good for her. And I can see why they did it.
Yeah.
Because I remember at the time, because of my contract with ESPN Star, I couldn't do anything for Setmax. But I could see, those were ESPN Star's best years. 2002, 3, 4.
Yeah.
You had Boycott, you had Gavaskar, you had Shastri, you had Chappell, everybody on. And I knew that if Setmax had a strategy, if you peeled off the Setmax sticker, you should not see Star Sports, because then they would have been number 2.
Number 2.
So the strategy they adopted was very different. And I admire Mandira for one thing. I don't think anybody in broadcasting got the kind of criticism that she did in her first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's damn tough. As you know how a batsman is. If a batsman's not making runs, he doesn't have the confidence to come back. And for the amount of criticism she had, I thought she stood up to it. So whether you agreed with the philosophy of having someone like her is a different story.
Yeah.
But I admired her for her guts in standing up to the situation.
You know, since there was a glamour quotient and there was so much focus on persona and whatever else, did that kind of compel you to get a new set of hair or whatever
New
else?
set of hair. It's my own hair. It's not
your
new,
own
it's
hair?
someone else.
Okay.
No, I'll tell you, it's very interesting. In that 1 year I was with the Mumbai Indians, I was in Kolkata, and then this gentleman came and sat next to me and he said, we've met before, and we got chatting, and he said, you know what, I can cover up your forehead and I do these surgeries.
Oh.
And I said, yeah, I said, but I'm fine the way I am because I've never been in the good-looking stakes. I said, I'm not a Milind Soman, I'm not Jackie Shroff, the young Jackie Shroff, the Charminar guy we all used to look up to. I said, I'm not in those stakes. He said, no, but I can do it for you, and it's routine. He said, I can put hair on your nose, I can put hair on your cheek, I can do what I want. And I resisted for about 6 months. And then I asked my wife, I said, what do you think? And she said, if you want to do it, do it. So I said, I approached it in a nothing-to-lose situation.
Okay.
But you know, Ayaz, it's incredible the number of people and the kind of people who've come up to me just sort of sidling up and saying, would you mind if I asked you something very personal?
Yeah.
And I said, ask me about my hair, no problem, it's all in the open. But the best line came from Ravi Shastri, who sends mean SMSs sometimes. He's got a very mean sense of humor.
Yeah.
I'm saying it in a very positive sense. I was doing a program on a news channel and I had to wear a cap for a while because of all the scabs around. And he sent me an SMS. What's hiding under that cap, Bhogle? And I've still got it on my cell phone.
Well, in a sense, he was perhaps,
maybe I'm not going down
soul
that
searching.
Yes.
Yeah. But which means more questions were asked about Harsha Bhogle's hair than about Tendulkar for a period of time.
There was a time, Ayaz, if you Google my name, you get hair. Which is
No, but I must ask you about Tendulkar and Dravid and Ganguly and Sehwag and this whole great bunch of cricketers that we've seen in the last 20 years. Do you think that actually Indian cricket has made a quantum jump, or are we just kind of sucked in by the hype and the hoopla, and we've got the era of Gavaskar and Vishwanath and Kapil Dev behind us?
It's interesting you say that because I remember I was working in PMG, which is Gavaskar's company, with Sumed Shah, and it was a Delhi test of 87-88, and 2 Indian openers walked out. Neither was called Gavaskar, and I thought, how is it possible for an Indian team to go into a game with the openers not Gavaskar?
Yeah.
And we thought that Indian cricket would never be the same again. But then Tendulkar arrived, and admirable people. Yeah. Tendulkar, Dravid, Kumble, Lakshman. I think what these people did, the biggest contribution I think Ayaz was post 99-2000, when the Indian cricket fan had started to lose faith.
Yes.
And he needed someone he could trust.
Match fixing.
Yes. And I still remember getting an email from somebody saying, is Tendulkar in it? Please tell me Tendulkar's not in it, because if he is in it, then what is left?
Yeah.
And there was Tendulkar, Dravid, Ganguly, Lakshman, Kumble, Srinath, all honourable people.
Yes.
I think Indian cricket was blessed at the turn of the century with a lot of honourable people. Yeah. Forget how they played cricket, but honourable people who brought faith back into cricket.
You also did the biography of Azharuddin,
and
who was at some stage, I think not just your favourite, but everybody's favourite.
I'm going to state up front something I've said for a long time. He's the most generous cricketer I've ever met in life.
I would second that completely.
The kind of things he did for kids, he'd give away bats, he'd give away money to people if he knew they needed it, very quietly, without telling anybody, here it is. And I played a lot of cricket with him, I played against him, we played in the university side together. And he was God's man. He was God-fearing, he was very polite, always sort of, in our old Hyderabadi style, he was almost moved backward sometimes while he was talking. Adab was the word that you associated with him. People change. I mean, I would have liked to see evidence, but in India, evidence is not required. So I don't know whether. I'm still in touch with him.
Yeah. But you mentioned about the change in approach to life and, wanting the good things in life. And one of the concerns in Indian cricket today is that very young, very talented cricketers getting very rich very early. Is that a danger?
I asked Rahul Dravid this question once, because to me Rahul is a fantastic example of someone who's seen it all and remained the person he is.
Yes.
Rahul and Anil and the others. And Rahul said, look, it was true in our time and it's true now, just the magnitude has changed. That if you take your focus away from the cricket, there's nothing you can do to the kids anyway. And the kids have to realize that if you play cricket, the world knocks at your door. Luckily in India, all you've got to do is play cricket. You score the runs, take the wickets, the world knocks on your door. But I have seen too many examples of people chasing the dollar. And as Alan Border said once to me many years ago, take care of the runs, the dollars take care of themselves. But chase the dollars and the runs vanish.
Yes.
And I feel some of our young boys need the elder brother, Ayaz. I don't know if there's place in our society for this elder brother who'd put an arm around, someone like Rohit Sharma, for example, put an arm around and say, listen, God blessed you to play cricket, and from time to time, let the arm drift downwards and give a little thing on the backside saying, you're drifting away. I think they need the support system that a Tendulkar got.
Yeah.
Tendulkar had a wonderful support system. Rahul Dravid had a wonderful support system. VVS Lakshman. I think eventually we're coming round to the family.
Yes. I think, and their rootedness in the family explains their success, or at least their longevity.
And I think the same thing happened with
Kumble or Sachin.
Since we talked about Azhar, the grandfather, the whole influence, the middle class family thing, it's when they get out of that and get a release almost, that they're then on their own, and then their morals have to be strong.
That's a great way to put it. But we'll talk about Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, Tendulkar, Dravid. These are legends, and Kumble. And understand how, what they've meant to Indian cricket and what they could still do in the future, but shortly after this break.